After the Civil War, when African Americans gained their rights to vote, white Southern men were distressed that African Americans were advancing their status socially and economically. Many white Americans adopted a radical point of view on keeping a racial hierarchy, whites being on the top and blacks on the bottom. The KKK started as a social club for former Confederate soldiers in Tennessee in 1866. It quickly became a terrorist group devoted to white supremacy. Founded in 1866, the Ku Klux Klan extended into almost every southern state by 1870 and became a vehicle for white Southern resistance to the Republican Party's Reconstruction-era policies, aimed at establishing political and economic equality for blacks. The Ku Klux Klan first arose in the South during the Reconstruction era, but it experienced a resurgence in the period immediately following the end of the First World War. The KKK was a viciously racist organization that employed violence and acts of terror in order to assert white supremacy and maintain a strict racial hierarchy. Although most of the KKK's savagery was aimed at African Americans, the hatred extended to immigrants, Catholics, Jews, liberals, and progressives. The revival of the KKK in the 1920s was demonstrative of a society coping with the effects of industrialization, urbanization, and immigration. Although the KKK had disbanded following the end of Reconstruction, the Klan's resurgence is owed to Colonel William Joseph Simmons. Simmons revived the Klan after seeing the film Birth of Nations by D.W. Griffith. This new installment of the Klan targeted not only blacks, but also Catholics, Jews, liberals, and progressives from attaining wealth, social status, and political power. This new idealistic view is due to the surge in immigration during and after World War I. The Klan's first action, led by Colonel Simmons, was the murder of the superintendent of a Jewish factory, Leo Frank, and the burning of a cross on top of a hill signifying the rebirth of the Klan. The organization took as its symbol a burning cross and held rallies, parades, and marches around the country. The members of the Klan were mostly white, Protestant, middle-class men, and they framed their crusade and morale in religious terms. They saw themselves as vigilantes restoring justice using scare tactics, as seen in quotes from Klan members. Black codes, which were passed soon after the Civil War, were an effort to restrict civil rights for African Americans. While the black codes may have been erased from the law books, they served as an ominous preview of the Jim Crow laws that emerged at the end of the 19th century. At the end of the 19th century, many southern states created racial segregation laws that separated white citizens and African Americans in places such as schools, hospitals, parks, and on railroads. These laws were known as Jim Crow laws, named for a white minstrel who blackened his face to create an offensive stereotype of an African American. Jim Crow is the name of a black character created by a white actor, Thomas Rice, in 1836. The actor would wear blackface makeup and sing and dance across the stage. The term Jim Crow, therefore, became used as an offensive term for African Americans. Flappers of the 1920s were young women known for their energetic freedom, embracing a lifestyle viewed by many at the time as outrageous, immoral, or downright dangerous. Not everyone was a fan of women's newfound sexual freedom, and there was inevitably a public reaction against flappers. White women were not let off the hook when it came to the Klan. They saw a white woman to be pure and obedient with an immaculate image.